It came to me that Thursday, back then, that a heavy cavalry update came, but as I could see, none of the players seemed to be interested about it due to some pretty solid facts that has been happening lately with the player base and the vehicles itself. So I'm being honest, after I'm having almost 3,800 hours of playing, which is 3,800 hours, I came to a question on my mind that it keeps repeating over and over again non-stop. Is Warthunder still era-based and performance-based or not? I know this might be stupid. I've made videos about that a long time ago telling about the game battle ratings compression system and it seemed to not have solved anything in particular. Buffs and nerfs didn't seem to make a difference in the whole game since I was playing from 2018. Particularly to the fact that when you hit the 4.0 to 5.0 part of your lineups, we see Cold War or modern era vehicles such as the BTR-ZD or the M55 Bigfoot. But it all starts to go wrong when we pass the 6.0 area where we face more Cold War era vehicles striking World War II vehicles, like thin cans with a naval cannon like the Type 60, the Berkanonen, or the M109 Paladin. So I'm still with this question in mind. Is this game still push its era-based combat realistically or Gaijin just make it for the sake of balancing the vehicle's performances? I'm gonna be honest, pushing the game to era-based to make it more realistic. Germany would be overpowered at 6.7 because of the majority of its wonder weapons like the Mouse or the Me-262s, so as the USSR with the IS-3 itself. The same question is being repeated over and over again, and it seems to not get everyone satisfied. While Thunder isn't realistic because it would favorize a few nations than other nations. That's why USSR and the USA got many experimental vehicles and Cold War era vehicles to the 4.0 to 6.7 slots to balance the gameplay against their main common enemy, Germany. When we see about the post 6.7 line of the vehicles, it gets even worse. Doesn't make any sense at all to see T-54s at 7.7 to 8.0, where the 8.0 to 8.7 area belongs to stabilized vehicles and APFSDS rounds. Remember when the Leopard 1 was 7.3 or 7.7? I know, it's been a long time honestly, and the same happened with the T-54s and BMP 1s. Compression is a thing when it's done right. If not, they'll be just moving vehicle after vehicle to a spot where they don't belong, like the case of the T-55 AMD versus Leopard A1A1. Common counterparts, but one got moved to 9.0 way after the other for some reason. I wonder why. It all starts to go wrong, terribly wrong, when we enter the 9.0 to 10.0 area of vehicles. The area where radars are a thing, missiles are your new weapons, APFSDS are your primary rounds, and armor isn't just steel anymore. Some vehicles are fairly better than the others. We've got the M60A3 TTS at the same spot as the T72A and T64A, but it's clearly purposed. They both share the same era, but to balance purpose, they gave a reload buff to all automatically loaded vehicles in the Russian tech tree that ranged from 9.3 to the top, or in other words, all of them. Don't get me wrong, the 10.0 area is where the things get real mad. Helicopters, jets that surpass the AA's capabilities, and tanks that don't belong there. Some, some vehicles are a menace on the 10.0 to 10.7 BR, and some are just okay to fight. So I'll not properly complain about it much. The main problem is that some vehicle models are worse developed than the others. One simple example are the turret baskets and autoloader modeling systems made by Gaijin. Back in the day, you could literally ammo rack a T-72 by shooting the lower parts of it to get the ammo. Nowadays, the autoloaders seem to be empty most of the times because it literally absorbs any type of incoming route with no problem at all. Other things on this area of combat are the missiles' performances. Feels like NATO missiles are poorly made in the game for them just to receive more documents about the missile's performance to make it better, while Warsaw Pact block missiles look astonishing better on performance like the Sturm or Chrysanthemum missiles. Some pretty solid examples of the missile's performances are even showcased in real life videos by random sources about the TOW-2B top missile being poorly modeled in game, while in reality, yeah, it's crude. The problem of today's Warthunder is the constant bias, or selected realism, or favoritism. What once was called meta, a way of maximize your gameplay via a easier and fun way like the armor meta, mobility meta, or firepower meta, has turned into a overstimulated bias, and Gaijin made it very clear with the recent update Heavy Cavalry. In total, 42 vehicles were added in this update, ranging from tanks, vessels, aircrafts, and helicopters. But what is more concerning about it is that Russia received a total of 5 vehicles, which we never meant to ask to be added. The T-90M Arena M, Yak 130, J-22 M1A, MiG-29KR, and the Chernovo Ukraina. Another T-90M for the Russian tech tree featuring a active protection system that we see in the T-72B3 arena has the same meaning as the Pantsir S MSV being added to the game. None. The Yak 130 features guided munition with him at the BR 9.3, the same as the A4E early Skyhawk of course, but the Yak 130's armaments should belong to 10.7 to 11.3. On a developer's note, they said that they didn't want to add R73 for it because it would be too much overpowered for his battle rating, although in the future we plan to add more modern versions of the Yak 130. This note means a lot for their future planning for Russia itself, which allows us to see who clearly Gaijin choose to increase its bias. With that being said, being skilled doesn't matter anymore when fighting against Russian vehicles at top tier. You will get stomped in the dirt with the Russian bias that it has. For example, now that they have the most armored main battle tanks of top tier, featuring cutting edge thermals and rounds, not to mention their APS, they got the BMPTs on their hands on top tier, which it was 10.3 when it launched. None of the modules are made properly, which makes their survivability increase a lot when fighting other vehicles. They have one of the best CAS aircrafts in the game, one of the most versatile fighters as well, the only helicopters that has the laser-based directional infrared countermeasure or LDIRCM that works properly are the Russians and Chinese helicopters, and have some of the most overpowered surface-to-air artillery in the game. The Tor, Bucks, Pantsir S1, and SMSV. And not to mention that most Russian vehicles are insanely overpowered. With that being said, even the new anti-radiation missiles as well, looking from the time that they were made, it clearly showed that Gaijin likes to give Russia some extra love. But no, Russia isn't that overpowered at top tier. No, just joking. We are very tired, Gaijin. We are really, really tired. The bias isn't even on the vehicles. It's on the other ones that aren't even on the Russia. Rumors being said that the new anti-ERA round from the SAP V3 Abrams wasn't nerfed nor buffed, but the armor of the Russian vehicles were instantly buffed to counter that only round. What about the other vehicles that aren't the Abrams SAP V3 Gaijin? Only one vehicle that can counter the glorious Russian machine is this sufficient to buff the armor of all your toys. Splendid. Warthunder is known for having a huge amount of maps. Yeah, true. But some of them disappeared. Some of my friends were asking where Sun City map went, and I only got Red Desert map only 3 times since the start of 2026. Gaijin is planning, as always, to add more maps to the game, but not in the way we want it. For example, if there's a way to add a better map for top tier while the MBTs were making their job properly, which is sniping on safe positions, Gaijin decides to update the visual looking of Winter Poland. How innovative. Maps on ground and air are scarce, as well as the same game modes since the open beta testing. We've been only getting contests, battle, and domination for ground, and the same for air since the open beta testing as well. There will be something interesting to come back again, to be honest. Where are the World War II mode? Where are the special day modes such as Normandy Day event where you could only play as certain types of vehicles on a custom-made spawns on Normandy map? There was once a operations gameplay for ground where it acted like battlefield operation mode, where one team attacked and the other defends themselves till the attackers run out of life. It's nice, but it was only a test, honestly. It's sad. Not to mention something that I've been saying for a long time. During confrontations for ground vehicles, it would act the same as the air enduring confrontation on SAM, but for tanks only. No aircrafts though, just you against other players on tanks, fighting for points against AI ground tanks, convoys, and aircrafts attacking yourselves. Talking about AI in aircrafts, simulation is my always pick when playing air, and it lacks some certain things. When I usually play with World War II vehicles, it's interestingly weird to see convoys that doesn't consist of small armed vehicles, simple AAs like M16s or SDKFZ 62s, to make the engagement fair. Not getting your tail torn apart in a single shot. Just a small note for the devs to keep checking that what they keep missing on some game modes. Damage models of tanks and aircrafts do not seem to impress anyone in the game. Back then, hull break was something unbelievable to see. Then it was updated to volumetric shells, then overpressure, and now it's just look at what I can do with this part of your vehicle. The aircraft damage model is as insane as it looks. Being honest, exploding a bomber with bombs inside it is cool to see, but it lacks time on some cases. For example, there was a time where bombers had their survivability buffed, then it was nerfed again. The fact is that War Thunder don't want the game to be realistic at that point because the 20 and 30 millimeters couldn't do much damage as we see actually in game. And so it goes with the time where we see the aircrafts crashing and turning into a huge pile of explosion in the slight possible touch to the ground as we try to crash land. Something like IL-2 I should say when speaking about the damage model of aircrafts and performance of their weapons. As long as for now, I believe the War Thunder's interface and systems are obsolete in some cases, because while PC players still have the ability to download skins, sound mods, custom sites, and custom missions, console players, me, and some of my fellow friends, still have to test our luck on crates to earn a miserable camouflage for a vehicle that doesn't exist anymore, or we can't even get. The thing is that War Thunder choose not to listen to the community as a whole, to keep implementing stuff after stuff non-stop, forgetting about the stuff that they should care more, unifying the game as one. They should make some examples of Euro Truck Simulator, Farming Simulator, and Snow Runner, which use internal storage within the game itself. Limited but useful, allowing you to download skins, custom sites, and sound mods without any problem for console players. Many of us are tired of getting camouflage skins for vehicles we'll never buy or that no longer exists. I remember having premium Leopard 2A4M and T80UD skins, vehicles that I don't plan to buy. Never. Talking about premiums, this is where I wanted to be. Premium vehicles are something that Warthunder is floating with. No matter how good or bad the updates are, I've been here since the Viking Fury update back in 2018, and I have almost 3,800 hours of gameplay honestly. Since when I joined the game, Gaijin just kept adding premium after premium, but the vehicles back then were unique. I remember about the M2061, a standard M26 medium tank with the Super Pershing's guns. The IS-2 Revenge, a special version of the IS-2 dedicated to a fallen brother or a husband. I don't remember. Then we had the T-72AV terms T. Back when the T-72AV was added, he was at 9.7, and the top tier of that time was 10.7 to 11.0. We are moving to 14.0 soon with the tanks, and the T-72AV was the head start of the premium copy and paste. Then there was the Leopard 2A4, the Type 90, T-80s, Challengers, and now the US got 5 Abrams, 3 if not mentioning the XM1s, Germany got 4 Special Leopard 2s, Russia got 4 T-80s as well, and so it goes. Premium copy and paste is making everyone sick, and seeing a lot of those top tier copy pasted premiums around really put that statement about it 10 years ago that we do not want our players to buy their way to the top. I've got a better idea, Gaijin. Why don't you stop making profit out of newborn players by transforming those premium vehicles into special event vehicles? That should make them live for it to feel the game better somehow. Ah, yes, they copy pasting even the event and battle pass vehicles as well. That is unbelievable. I really don't know how the game will survive any longer after what they did with this update. All I gotta say is that the game itself is dying. Fly Daily said it, Coldmine said it, even the mighty Dollar Plays said it. And us, the players, should have noticed it first than them. All I gotta say is, with all our effort, to salt the snail.